For today's lesson, I kind of wanted to start because you've made very quick progress on a lot of things. I recently had, I play in a concert band. I think I told you that. I still play in a concert band. We just recently started one again. And we had clinicians with professional musicians who came in. And I had the opportunity to sit in on a percussion clinician, and the percussionist gave me this incredible breakdown of rhythm that I think that a few of my students could really benefit from. And I think you in particular would be one that would really benefit from this, because I did 5 years of music school and I didn't think about rhythm this way, and it shifted everything for me. So I know that sounds super nerdy, but the idea being that by just sort of shifting the perspective in terms of rhythm, I think a lot of stuff when it comes to reading music and playing music is going to change. It'll feel very different, because I realized that before I took this sort of guest clinician's class, I was looking at rhythm very mechanically, and it doesn't have to be. So this is sort of a build-up lesson to that whole idea. So at some point we're going to break into what he calls the table of time. We won't do that in this lesson. I'm still personally trying to work through that, but this will be sort of a preparation for that kind of work, because I think you'd be really great with it. So first of all, when we think about our beat, our quarter note, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Currently the most basic unit of rhythm we have is that quarter note of 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think we've gone further down to the 8th note at this point. I don't think we've hit the 16th note yet, but I think we have hit the 8th note. So now that we have hit the 8th note, we're ready to break it down even further. So when it comes to that beat, if we have a whole note, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for one beat. Half note, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, and quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we come into breaking down our beats, this isn't going to sound particularly unique. You'll have heard this before. We can break it down into halves or into thirds. We can break it down into integers of 2 or of 3. So the sort of equation that I use, or not equation, analogy that I use all the time is, imagine that, for example, in this particular situation, imagine that we are at a party, or we are at somebody's birthday party or something, and you and I happen to come across a whole pie that we don't want to split with anybody else, just you and me. So what we would do is we would split that pie exactly in half. I know, again, nothing unique here, but we would split that pie in half. So of that one beat, we now both have half of a pie. So that's where the 8th note comes in. Now, if a third person jumps into the room and they want to split the pie with us, we now split that same amount of pie 3 ways. That's where we get the triplet. So I know you've probably played music with triplets before, but in terms of their feel, what I want you to really keep in mind is the quarter note doesn't change. So if this is our quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 8th notes is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and quarter stays 3. 8th notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now I'll do triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. 1-ya, 2-ya, 3-ya, 4-ya, quarter note. 3. 8th notes 1 and 2 and 3 and quarter notes. 1, 2, triplets. 1-ya, 2-ya, 3-ya, 4-ya, triplet, 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 triplet. Now, normally when I'm practicing that, personally, I will always go back to quarter notes. I'll go 8th note, quarter note, triplet, quarter note. So what this percussionist was getting at is we have to become comfortable going not to quarters, but immediately from duplets into triplets. Immediately from intervals or integers of 2 to 3. So to show that, we would have quarter notes 1, 2, 3, 8th notes 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet, 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 8th notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and triplet, 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if you can feel that relationship between 2s and 3s, when it comes time to breaking down these rhythms further into 16th notes, into 32nd notes, so on and so forth, into dotted quarter notes, That's going to really make the next part of this much easier. So what I'd like you to try to do is try to break down that relationship for yourself between paired notes and triplets. And practice going back and forth, counting to yourself, making sure that your quarter note stays the same. Now, what will help with that is if you have some sort of a metronome at home. So you don't have to have the big metronome like I have. You can have one on your phone or on the computer or whatever. But have a metronome running so you have that pulse of the quarter note staying the same, and practice going back and forth. This isn't a piano practice thing. If you wanted to make it a piano practice thing, I would say go to chords and just try to practice going with chords. Like if we, for example, let me just set this up so you can see the piano. Let's say our C chord, because we have C, we have C, 1, 2, 3, 4, G or F, 2, 3, 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet. So that would be the next step, is to sort of apply it back into playing the piano. But for now, we don't really have to worry about that level of specificity. We can just try to get that going. So anyways, a little bit long-winded, but give it a try this week and let me know how it feels, because I think the next step is really cool. Yeah, anyways, have a good week, and I'll see you. Oh, sorry, don't come next week. We don't have a lesson. It's family day. So I won't see you next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks. So take care.